It was still counting down.
Oh! Stop joking!
You all talked when it was still counting down. Now this is the video.
Oh!
All right, 3,
Subscribe!
2, 1, 0.
Subscribe!
This week's list of problems as a problem seeker. The iPhone brightness is too bright at night. I want it to be much more dim, and even though I've already made it all the way down to the minimum, it's still too bright. A teacher in my building did not have the charger to the 2015 MacBook Pro. Students were annoyed by the code they were trying to solve this week in my class. They got stuck and they didn't know how to get unstuck. They all were in a different spot raising their hands and they needed assistance, but there's only one of me. Another teacher came down. Their printer ink that they had just waited 6 weeks for had this little string attachments that they couldn't get out of the system. They needed help and they didn't want to break it. Students were complaining that they're going to the Intrepid Museum and they think that the trip will be boring and they don't want to go. They'd rather go to something like an amusement park. Another teacher was needing to take a day off because their couch had broken and they got from Bob's Furniture, and they needed to wait between the window of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., which isn't a very specific window, so it would be great if there was some sort of thing that would tell you that we're going to be arriving between 1 and 2, so maybe they only had to take a half day, so like tracking. Another teacher wanted to be able to easily clip quotes while they are reading. There's no easy way if they're reading on a park bench. I actually showed them in the Notes app that you can optical character recognition and see that, so I actually somewhat solved that problem for them. On timer apps on YouTube, I noticed people were complaining that there were ads during the YouTube timer, so the timer is longer than the actual timer. The owner of Ethernet, or the person who invented the Ethernet, who used to go to school in California, they schooled their kids, and they said their best investment was investing in their education, moving from California to rural Maine. The schools in Maine weren't so good, and then they went to private school in Maine, and then eventually moved to Boston, and that the most valuable thing they did was spending on their education, but they seem to have had a tough time finding the right school, that they felt like their kids would be raised in a good environment, but an environment that wouldn't make them spoiled and also wouldn't make them elitists. I helped a group of my old students who were high schoolers prepare for the business competition where they were trying to present 5 uses of artificial intelligence, and they ranked them from first place to last place, and they really struggled doing good research on finding backing evidence for their claims. So maybe teaching how to do better research and using AI tools to help with that research, and then using that evidence to make their claims. So practicing doing research and then figuring out from artificial intelligence what's worth listening to and what is actual BS. I've had a lot of teachers complain that a lot of their students don't really know how to organize their files in OneDrive, that they kind of just throw something in there and call it untitled document number 67. I noticed people on LinkedIn, like this guy Dan, who presented at the Artificial Intelligence Revolution conference, the AIR conference, that he was complaining that AI is this just shiny new tool that's undermining all of teachers from average to excellence teaching ability, and we're just letting people like Sam Altman decide what is good practice in education. Not sure that I fully agree, but I understand that that's a problem. I think that there's too many AI tools out there. People need a one-stop shop where if they learn that, they can do anything. And I ended this week just asking lots of teachers in my building, what is the most painful, aka valuable problem that they wish that there was a solution for in their everyday job? And the most common response I get was that they wish their students were more motivated to learn, and I got some cool information, some data about what they'd be willing to pay for that solution. So I had a couple of teachers, this is the average amount, but they would pay $300 a month to teach motivated students who want to learn, so that going to work every day is a more meaningful experience and more rewarding for them. And they'd be willing to pay up to 4% of their yearly salary for someone to do all of their grading for them, so they can free up more of their time to focus on connecting with the students and teaching and planning and doing all of the other things that are in their umbrella of responsibility. Finally, I asked students, what was the most common that you heard your teachers complain about? And the most common responses that students gave me that they heard their teachers complaining about was that teachers are constantly talking about how students are not listening and they're talking over them. We noticed that students aren't, this is what the students notice the teachers say, that they are not doing their work on time or submitting it on time. So I think that has to do with like the value of students believing that the work is actually worth their time and that it will help them get to whatever their goals are. Maybe even focusing on making them have goals that are worth searching for. And finally, grades were not where they wanted them to be. So that was this week's list of problems. I'm sure there's many more that I did not write down, but those will be coming in the next week. And I'll continue to be a problem seeker, looking for these problems so that hopefully I can find which one I most enjoy solving in my entrepreneurial journey. I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys enjoy. Peace.